Hello. Thank you for watching the 43rd NAACP AXO Playwriting Competition.
Welcome to day 3 of the 43rd National AXO Competition Ignite. I'm Kat Peoples. We're so excited you've joined us. We want to invite you to support all of today's contestants by using the chat feature. We also want to invite you to share today's event with your networks. Now, without further ado, enjoy today's presentations. Let's meet the judges.
Lynch. Welcome, Lynch. Do you mind giving a quick introduction of yourself?
Good, happy Friday morning. My name is Lynch R. Travis. I am an actor, director, stage manager, theatrical professional. I currently live just outside the city of Detroit. I'm really happy to be here. This is, I believe, the second time that I've been a judge for the playwriting competition, and I'm really excited about it because none of the stuff that I do can happen without playwrights. So are we moving on to
Is it my turn?
Yes, Karen.
Oh, it's Karen. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Karen Chilton. I'm coming to you live from New York City. I am an actor, playwright, and author. I have my MFA from NYU Tisch School of the Arts in playwriting and screenwriting. I have been an working actor, playwright for the last 25 years in New York. Always thrilled to be here. This is my 6th year as a judge in the playwriting competition. And just like Lynch said, if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. So I'm always thrilled to talk to young playwrights.
And I guess it's me. I'm Kirsten Lynch Walsh, and I am a theater teacher at a school in South Jersey. I teach at a performing arts school. Prior to that, I lived in New York City, and I was an actor, director, writer, all of the above. And one of my favorite things to do is working with young artists and really seeing what direction theater is going to take. And I think it's so exciting to work with young writers. So I was thrilled when they asked me to jump in and read some new works because I think, looking at the direction of where theater is going, it's our young people and their voice. So I'm really excited to be here and to work with you guys. So thank you.
Okay, so I guess it's the host judge. I'd just like to take this opportunity to welcome our first competitor in the playwright category, and I'm going to hopefully say your name correctly, Renisha Jenwright, and if that's wrong, please correct me. How you doing, Renisha?
I'm doing good.
All right, great. So I guess I'm gonna get the ball rolling here and ask you this first question. Tell us, if you can, what inspired you to write this particular short play?
I am someone who's always been interested in love and the stories behind how people fall in love and what makes them really attract to one another. And I feel like the best love stories are actually in the midst of a struggle. And in my play, I wanted to write about Daniel and Hope and how, although they were struggling with their own different issues, they were able to come together to find acceptance in one another, which is something I feel like we all gain to achieve at some point. And I feel like cooking and baking is something that has been important to me in my life and what makes me feel good. This past school year, I've done a lot of baking and cooking because it's been something that actually helped me to really get to know myself better. And I felt like anybody who reads my play or watches it is able to really relate with the play, whether you cook or not, or you know someone who cooks. I feel like that's just something that I wanted to bring out and show how our differences and our passions are something that can bring us together.
Great answer.
Great. I have a question for you, Renisha. I mean, overall, I'll just give you a sense of my overall impression of the piece. I thought all of your characters were really well crafted. I thought the mother, Gladys, it's Gladys, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Gladys really just jumps right off the page. I just think you had such a, you wrote with such surety and such confidence, like you knew who these people were. And the relationship between Hope and Daniel, I thought was just such a sweet, just a very sweet, endearing relationship. And it's interesting to me that you chose cooking, because now that you've explained that your overall inspiration was to write about love, I think there's something so nurturing about cooking, baking in particular, that is sort of representative of love. It's a great metaphor for your piece. And I also thought that it was very imaginative, and you had a very clear visual sense. The piece actually gave me, I thought it had a very cinematic quality as well. I think it's a theatrical piece, but I thought, oh, this could also be a short film. So that was my general takeaway. And the one question I would have for you is, I was curious, what period was this set in? Like what time period did you feel this was in? Because I don't think it was in the opening pages.
Yes, ma'am. I wrote my play to be in the 1960s, and I actually chose that period because I felt like it was significant in the message that I was trying to convey in the play. And I know there's been many issues that have been resolved since then to now. And in my play,
Wait, Ronisha froze.
Yeah.
Judges, let's give Renisha a minute or so, and see if she'll come back. If not, we'll move on to the next student.
Come back, Ronisha. Come back. Oh,
The perils of the interweb thing.
I know. So Kirsten, you're up.
All right. Well, first of all, Ronisha, I want to say I really enjoyed reading your work. The characters, as Karen said, were beautifully written. And, you know, I was so drawn to the individual characters. Um, could you give us a little bit of the storyline and maybe a little intro about yourself? Before I ask my question, I'd really like to get a little more insight.
Oh, yes, ma'am. So my name is Ronisha Jenright, as you all know, and I'm an 18-year-old graduate from Mullins High School in Mullins, South Carolina, and I'm representing the Marion County branch of South Carolina, and my play is entitled Cherry Pie. And I wanted this to be a modern take on a love story from the 1960s in South Carolina, because South Carolina is where I've been raised all of my life and where I've lived all my life. And I just wanted my story to follow the brief interaction of Daniel and Hope. And I wanted my story to be something that was unique, not like any other traditional love story, because at the end of the play and throughout the play, we don't really necessarily know if Daniel and Hope are actually falling in love as far as becoming boyfriend and girlfriend or becoming people in a relationship. It's just that I wanted to show how friendship can lie amongst people that we might have just met or have never known before. And in the story, we saw that the people who actually oppressed Daniel and Hope were actually people of their race and who actually were related to them, because Daniel and Hope were outsiders, and in their experience coming together, they actually were able to find the things that were common between each of them and actually form a relationship with that. And I just wanted my story to be something that people of any race, any gender, any age could relate to, and just see that you may be someone who loves to cook, you may be someone who likes to read, but throughout the entire story, there's always someone out there for you and someone who you can call your friend.
Nice.
Okay. I love how it just feels very genuine and it's the simplicity of their interaction. I guess my question was, and you sort of answered it for me just now, but my question is, do you see this as a small moment in what will eventually be a larger story, or is it just that brief encounter and how that can change and, you know, do you see this developing, or do you feel like this is where you want it, just this little standalone chunk?
Okay, so I guess I would kind of say it's a little bit of both, but I'm kind of leaning more towards there's this moment that happened between them that could actually influence them throughout the rest of their lives. And at the end of the story, you saw how Hope left the slice of cherry pie for Daniel. And at the end of the story, I didn't want it to be something that was just, oh, happily ever after they, you know, fall in love with each other. I kind of wanted it to be something that the audience or the readers could bring to their own interpretation of how the story would end. And I kind of wanted the cherry pie, her leaving that behind, to signify, I guess, leaving a piece of herself behind and the experience that they had with one another, and also to signify the start of something and not the end. So I guess whoever reads the story, if they think that Daniel and Hope will be able to reunite in the future, which is a possibility that could happen, but also that even if they don't, they still have this great moment that they shared together that they'll never forget.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great answer.
May I follow up? Or um, one of the things, you know, that really was intriguing to me was the detail that you provided us in terms of what these routines were like. And so how did you come about, you know, this knowledge of this baking and the willingness to share that? It's almost like I wanted to grab your recipe and start baking my pie.
Yes, sir. So something that I like to do, I've said before, I love to bake, and some of my favorites are actually blueberry muffins and things like that, and brownies. But something that my dad really loves is cherry pie. So I guess that's kind of how I wanted that's kind of how I got inspired to make the title to be Cherry Pie, but also because cherry pie was something that was significant in the story. And throughout the story, I wanted the readers or the viewers to be intrigued throughout. So I guess I would give some knowledge of how to create this cherry pie, but maybe it's just it's something that you could interact with, or maybe someone has a grandmother or a mother who makes their cherry pie in the same way. And that's another way that they could relate to the story. Or maybe it's just not cherry pie, or I remember my grandmother making chicken this way, or making another type of pie this way. And I just wanted to bring out these details in the story to just make it something that was different and something that they definitely remember. At least at the end of the day, Daniel knows that butter is in a cherry pie of his encounter with Hope.
Ranisha, I have a question for you. I thought that on top of everything, there was one of the themes of your play. It had this very important social cultural statement that you were making. And so I wonder if that's something that's important to you in your writing, and where you see yourself going forward. I know you mentioned you were 18. I'm always, whenever I do AXO, I always wonder, like, where are you going to college? What are you doing next? Are you going to keep writing? Do you see yourself? These are a bunch of questions, but you can parse this however you want. But and also, do you see yourself expanding this piece or writing other pieces that have this sort of social political impact?
Yes, ma'am. After writing the play, I actually discovered that this was something that I actually really like to do. I know in my English class, we used to write plays all the time, and that's something that I never did before. This was one of the first plays I've ever written before. And I just thought that it was something that was just really fun, because I'm someone who always loves to watch movies, but creating this play was like writing my own movie. And I had thought about what would I do, because like I said, I love baking. And I said to myself, well, maybe I could do something where I write something about key lime pie or sweet potato pie or about blueberry muffins. But instead of it being the same theme or falling in love with a friend you just met, it could be something about maybe someone just went over this traumatic experience. And I know that cooking and bringing food is something that we all can relate to, because whether someone is grieving or we're celebrating, we're eating. And I just wanted this to be something that is in my stories or future stories that I write. And that was just something that I wanted to do and bring out in the story. So I could definitely see myself doing more things with it in the future, or just doing things related to it and related to other age groups or genders, things like that.
Where are you going to college?
I'm actually going to Francis Marion University.
Oh, nice.
It's a local university. It's about 30 minutes away from my home. And I know that. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, ma'am.
So I'm kind of looking forward to the pie series. Anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask our contestant?
No, we just want to thank you. Thank you for submitting. Thank you for writing such a thoughtful, beautiful piece. We enjoyed reading it.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
Agreed.
Thank you, and good luck as you go forward to college next year and all that stuff. And you're going to need those cooking skills when you get in that door.
Be very popular in college with those cooking skills.
Right. Thank you, Juanita.
Keep writing, please.
Yes.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. So here we are with our next contestant, Siani Simone Ammons. Hi, hi, Siani. So we'd like you to get started by introducing us and perhaps giving us an overview of the piece that you wrote for us.
Hi everyone, my name is Siani Simone Ammons and I'm so excited to be here today. I'm representing Scotland County, the Youth Council of the North Carolina branch, and overall I really am excited to be here. I know I keep on saying that. My play was called Death of Hope, and it was written about a child who discovers his life when he's guided by an angel of death, and that's a short overview of it.
Okay. So let me just kind of start off. Okay, so where did this come from? In terms of where you what I don't know if inspired is the right word, but what allowed you to create this particular story?
Well, I believe the materials that I've been watching beforehand, I had just finished watching the movie Soul with my mother. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Soul, but I had always wondered what happened after life and what happened before life. And I wanted to say, hi, I wanted to make this piece that kind of talked about how life can affect us and how some people maybe don't want to live a life because of the dark parts, and how sometimes the dark parts can seem kind of like they overweigh the good parts of life, like they overweigh it. Oh my God, I'm nervous. I'm sorry, guys.
No, don't be nervous. I'm going to jump in. You can gather your nerves. I just want to give you my overall sense of what my experience was reading Death of Hope. I thought right out of the gate that you have such a visual sense of storytelling. The whole premise was so compelling and just really interesting. And that was the one thing that stuck with me, is that throughout you had such a keen visual sensibility, which I think for playwrights is important. I mean, it's an attribute that sometimes people associate with screenwriters, but I think that when playwrights are able to visualize the world that they're creating on stage, and when that jumps off the page, it helps not just the reader of the play, but ultimately it will help the director to create your vision on stage. It helps the actors. And I just think you had such an amazing, that was such an amazing skill that popped out right away. The other thing was just you have this wonderful ability, this wonderful talent for words. I mean, your language was so beautiful. And I even wrote down a few things that you wrote. It was like very specific visuals, like the handcrafted card or the expertly created drawing or the chrysanthemums that were dying in the vase. And I thought, oh my God, I mean, so every line I was really paying attention to the care that you took with the language. And I thought overall that the piece had this very rich, mystical, ominous kind of quality. And it was very philosophical, which I was so impressed by, because you're so young. And I thought, wow, this is deep. Like you like went there. You like went down the rabbit hole and took us there. And it was just fascinating. And the twist at the end and the line, why babies are born screaming, oh, that just blew me away. Just really wonderful work, Siani. Really beautifully done.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. Seriously, that made my heart smile just hearing that. I love writing descriptions. That's one of the reasons why I turned to playwriting and screenwriting. I just love the fact that you can read something, you can automatically see a picture, and I love being able to show people that picture. So just the fact that you managed to caught on everything. When I was writing, I'm really a stickler for details. So I made sure I looked at, what do flowers mean? What do flowers symbolize? So I was looking at the symbolization of flowers and I wrote everything down. Just the fact that you noticed every single detail, even it just makes me feel really, really great. So I appreciate it so much.
As an acting teacher and as a playwright, specificity is, I think I say it probably 20 times a week in my classroom, and you had such great specificity. And concur with everything that Karen said as regards to the detail that you poured into it, lovingly layering. I also the feeling that was evoked from the candy. I can't that kind of visual is just, really like sticks with you. And Titi, I really liked how the character was written. Is very other time period, otherworldly. What inspired you to write that character of TT? Like, where did you kind of get the inspiration for that character?
Well, mainly the inspiration I got from the character is the men that are in my life. My uncle, he's my great uncle. He lives with us. He's from Philadelphia. He's in his 70s. And I was kind of inspired by the way he talks almost because he talks, he's not in a country manner, but he talks like that, like his mannerisms. And I wanted to create a character who was very full of wisdom, but he was also pessimistic about life, but he was optimistic for his loved ones and the people that he cared about. So that's how I was inspired by TT. And I feel as if he merged together perfectly. He's also reminiscent of my uncle because my uncle, he's a very charismatic, captivating person, but he also has like his dark moments. But when he has his dark moments, they're always full of wisdom and knowledge, and you always want to listen to them and catch on.
Wait, Lynch, you're muted.
So let me follow up with this in terms of what some of my judges. I was really impressed by how you were able to kind of juxtapose like almost the same words. Where and you use the candy things and at different places. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, you just switched that up on me. So what that wordplay. And I think that's one of the things that I thought was really a strength of this piece. And I also like the setting, the imagination of taking this into creating this other world. So where do you? I'm always curious about playwrights. That's the one thing that I have not ventured into professionally. So I'm always kind of like, how do you come up with that? How do you? And you said you were inspired by soul, but this is like a whole different type of world than that was.
It is a very, very different world, but I love fantasy. I am a big fantasy fan. I love Harry Potter. I love Lord of the Rings. I love all of those forms. I love anime too, because fantasy anime is amazing. So in Harry Potter, there's this cave, and this might be a spoiler alert to anyone who hasn't seen Harry Potter, but Dumbledore takes Harry Potter to this cave, and there's like skeletons all around. They're fighting skeletons. So I wanted to create this dark moment from Harry Potter and the sweet moments from Soul, where there's this place of light where all the unborn souls are found. And I wanted to combine them because isn't that what life is the dark moments with the sweet moments. And I wanted to have that as like a metaphor for what the play was to be.
Well, you did that admirably.
You really, really did. I mean, the premise that you set out to achieve, you achieved it. I mean, the piece is so cohesive and it's so clear what you were trying to convey and what the underlying messages were. Just really beautifully done. Where are you going to college? Are you 18 yet?
No, I am a rising junior, so I have 2 more years.
Wow. Wow. Okay, now you've just blown me away some more because you're even younger than I thought you were. Are you going to continue writing? I say yes. Please say yes. You're going to pursue writing. Okay.
I want to pursue writing as a career, but I want to do pre-med as well. I want to become a psychiatrist if writing if writing doesn't prove to be successful, which I hope it does because I love writing so much. I love writing. I love hearing people like you say, I actually painted a description in your mind. I really appreciate that so much. And I just love being able to create a new world, create new characters, create new people, and have metaphors and everything. It's just so amazing.
Well, that's so interesting to me that you're choosing psychology because, like I told you before, the piece is so philosophical. So it's interesting to me that you're interested in the study of the mind, what makes people tick. And I think all of those things you'll find that they'll all work together. So there's no, I mean, this is just my 2 cents, but you don't even have to think of, well, if this doesn't work out, then I'll just do this. It all works together. That's what you'll find in life, that all those things come. I'm a playwright and an actor. My major in undergrad was economics. My parents don't understand it. I don't either, but somehow I found a way to merge everything that I loved. And if I could leave something with you, there's a great quote by Edward Albee, the playwright. And he said, sometimes you have to go a long distance out of the way to come back a short distance correctly. And that has been what I have found in my journey, that, sometimes you go on these long stretches in one direction only to come right back to where you belong. So if that helps you along the way, but you're certainly off to a beautiful start. And I just wish you all the best.
So let me just jump on that, Karen. I did not know that about you. I'm a major too. So yeah. So and it took me like 15 years of not being in the theater to get back to it. And you can be successful at both, and please do, because we need both.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I think I don't know. I mean, they've put one of our other contestants in the room. I think our time.
More minutes, according to the clock. If Kirsten has anything that she'd like to follow up on.
Yeah.
I don't think I had any other questions regarding the script other than, was this your first play that you wrote, like full play? Or have you written others?
This was actually the first play that I've ever written. My uncle, he's a writer too, and my mom's always like inspired me to take on different mediums of writing. She's my biggest inspiration. She's the person who always reads my stuff. But my uncle, he's a writer, so he's read my stuff before, and he's always been like, you should write plays, or you should write screenplays. And my mom has always seen like stuff like Shonda Rhimes, like Grey's Anatomy and Bridgerton, and she would say to me, I could see you writing something like this. So this was my first dive into it, and I really enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah. I feel like studying psychology, I went to school for theater, but I was glad that I went to a BA program where I also took psych and soc and art history and all those things, because I feel like it gave me so much more to utilize in my path and utilize and pull from. So I think psychology is always a great major to, again, tie in. You don't have to do one or the other. They are both. That's the beauty of playwriting, that you can do that concurrently sometimes while also having another career. And so I definitely encourage you to keep going and keep using your voice, because it's beautifully done.
And just as a suggestion, if you aren't reading Octavia Butler yet, if you haven't been introduced to her, she's a Black sci-fi novelist. I think you would love her books. You probably know her already. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know.
I've heard of her, but I have not read her books yet, and I want to so badly. There's this other lady, I forgot her name, which I'm so mad about. She's a sci-fi Black novelist, and she's so talented. You might be familiar with one of her books, because I see you have New York University in the background. But she wrote a book about New York, and she made each borough of New York into a character.
Oh, wow.
It was like really interesting. But she's a great novelist. I have a couple of her books too. But I want to read Octavia Butler, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be like she's just gonna open up a whole new thing for you.
Okay,
but thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed reading it, and yeah, much success to you in life as we have to start moving on here.
Yeah.
Any words, Kirsten?
Thank you, Siani Simone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
is Ethan Hart. I am 18. I'm currently living in Katy, Texas, and I will be attending Howard University in the fall. My number is 2112C03. I am representing the NAACP AXO Houston branch program, and today I present to you my play, Flash. The play revolves around three people who are transported to a dead space where they can choose to view their memories before they die. Throughout the play, the stage is gradually going from light to dark, starting from fluorescent white at the first line to pitch black at the last line. In writing this play, I had many factors to keep in mind. Firstly, I needed to write a play with one setting because too many settings would have made the play convoluted and hard to follow. Secondly, I had to write a play in 20 pages. So I had to figure out I could make a compelling story that was short enough to and that's kind of as one does. And I remembered that people always say that before you die, your life flashes before your eyes. And so I thought, what if I made the story take place in that flash? And instead of it being like a flash, just made it like a frozen moment in time. And so after I did that, I started to work on the characters and the dialogue. Writing dialogue sounds real and not forced is difficult, but I feel like writing characters is harder because characters have to have motivations and reasons for wanting to make the choices that they make. And the characters in my story, a lot of the reasons behind their actions mirror how I see others deal with death. For example, one of my characters, Jordan, represents the fear of death. I've seen a lot of people be afraid of death because they feel like they're running out of time to do all the things they want. They're also scared because they feel like they haven't fulfilled their purpose or done what they were meant to do in life. And so I wanted to see how a person like that would operate in an environment where there's literally no way out and they can't avoid death, basically. And it was a little heartbreaking to write this character because he can't accept that he's about to die up until the very end. He's trying to get out of it some way because he still feels like there's something left for him to do. I also wanted to see how a character like him would interact in an environment with someone who doesn't really care about dying. And that's what Kyle represents. When I was writing Kyle, I was kind of lost because I don't really think that way. I'm kind of scared of death. So I was trying to ask other people how they thought about it. And so they were thinking if you live, one of the friends I asked, he was like, well, if you live your life to the fullest and don't have any regrets, then I'm pretty fine with dying. And I was like, whoa. But it kind of got me thinking how I can incorporate that into his character. And so when I was writing him, in my opinion, I feel like he has a lot of mistakes in his past, but he doesn't have any regrets. He's done everything that he feels like he could do in life, and he feels almost complete. And so that's why throughout the show, he's just trying to kind of ease everyone's tensions and ease everyone's mindset, especially Asia. Asia represents those who don't understand death. I also fall into this category. In her case, she wasn't ready for death at all, but she also, in a way, wasn't ready for life. She had no clue what she wanted to do, and before she got a chance to figure that out, she died. And although she doesn't quite understand why she died so early, she's forced to accept it and has the maturity to do so, because that's her reality now. Yeah. And this is the main point I wanted to get across in the play. This play is meant to represent how time is a gift, and we will never have enough of it. Therefore, we have to make the most of the time that we're given, however long or short, and not waste it on selfish desires.
Wow. Nice.
Okay. So how you doing in there? Again, Ethan, I'm Lynch Travis, and I'm going to start off the question period. Just listening to you, it seems that your approach is very kind of process driven, you know, that you really kind of laid this thing out in a way that I probably had never even thought of, you know, just to hearing how you approach this. Where did you acquire that vision, that type of, okay, this is how I'm gonna approach writing this play? You know, you talked about characters, you talked about dialogue, you talked about plot and purpose, that type of thing. So how did you kind of synthesize this approach to writing this particular play?
Well, it was a little difficult at first because this is like the first play I've ever written, and I know that I wanted to be a writer. I just never like had, well, I didn't never have the time. It's just I never like had a reason to really like keep writing stuff. So I would always write like small scenes and stuff. But with this, I was like, okay, I need to get this done. So I had always had the idea that I wanted to write a story about death or time. And I was like thinking about how I can incorporate that. At first, I had started like, maybe I should set this in a waiting room, but that's kind of already been done before. And I wanted to tell the story in a way that hadn't been done before. So that's why I wanted to set it in like a flash.
Did we lose people?
Does that make sense or not? I feel like I froze.
You did.
You froze for a minute, but just so that we don't run out of time, I just want to jump in real quick and give you my overall impressions of the piece. The first thought that I had when I read Flash was, this is such an intelligent script. It's so thoughtful. And I think that, to use a dramaturgical term, I think the architecture of your play is so strong. And so to hear you describe it, it makes sense to me, because it's evident in the writing that you took time to build a play. You took time to create a structure, a dramatic structure, to tell the story in a really provocative way. It's so smart. And I think the premise is really compelling. And I think that visually, you know, that you created this sort of netherworld, that visually you had such a keen sense of what you wanted this world to look like and also to feel like, because I felt that in reading the words. And I also made a note that, you know, imaginative, original, vastly different characters. I really admire the way that you created, just how you described, every character had a very different way of dying, a different set of consequences. Their perception of death was all different, and their reaction to it was different. And I think that's what propelled the action of your play and kept it going, and it made those scenes really pop, because the dialogue was just fire. I mean, your dialogue was so witty and so cool, and I was like, wow. I mean, and you did a great job of building all this tension. So I felt this sense of urgency of, oh my God, what's going to happen next? They're hanging in this in-between space, and what's going to happen. And I think you did a great job at building terrific conflict and terrific tension throughout. And I was curious about the character of Carter, because he's so much fun and so crazy. Like, what inspired you to write Carter? Because it's such a serious premise, but then you had the wisdom to create this wacky character that's injecting all this humor into this really serious situation.
Yeah, I I kind of wrote Carter as like, I get like he serves as like the comedic relief, but the way I came up with him was like, well, I'm a Christian, so I'm gonna use like my religion to explain this. I was like, what if God had like a baby angel who was just starting out, and he was like, God, give me something to do, please. And he was like, fine, here, go do that. Go help them cope with it. And so that's why he's super like excited. He's like, oh wow, this is great. And he kind of like messes up a little bit, but I guess Carter kind of represents.
Oh, wait. Ethan, you're freezing up a little bit. Maybe we can.
Carter's in how generation kind of deals with things. Like, I feel like general just. Did I freeze again?
You froze.
Am I back? Okay. Sorry.
Well,
I was saying that I feel like Carter represents how my generation kind of deals with a lot of serious topics. Like, we kind of joke about a lot of serious things when they happen. Like, and the only way for us to really, am I back? Am I good? I'm good. I feel like I'm good. I feel like the only way for us to really deal with it is to kind of joke about it a little bit. Because if you can laugh about it, then you'll eventually take it seriously. But like, it's nice to kind of laugh about the situation you're in.
I hear you. Thank you.
No problem.
I was going to ask about Carter and what the technical difficulties. Were they inspired by this year and any experiences that you've had?
Um, uh, I didn't think about it that way, but that really makes sense. Like, I was just like, I don't want to give away why this is happening, so I'll just push it off to later. But that actually makes a lot more sense because it's happening now.
Literally.
But I thought it was nicely written. But it didn't necessarily. So a lot of times when you write anything that's happening now, you kind of date the material. So it was kind of like technical glitches, but it wasn't so tied to what's going on today that, 10 years from now we couldn't read this play and it would be outdated. But I thought it was a nice little nod to, the technical difficulties. And I also really enjoyed how you incorporate the humor into such a serious, heady topic. Um, I also wanted to just get a little background with you because you seem to have a great grasp of theater and how it should be structured, I think as was mentioned earlier. Have you been involved in theater? What's your background with that? What's your experience with theater?
Yeah, so where do I start? I first got into theater when I was 8 and I was doing community theater. Later down the line, I auditioned for the Humphrey School for Musical Theater, and they work with Tuts in Houston. So I did that in my junior year and senior year. And I've really been doing theater all my life, basically. Like when I was 8, we made like a real home production of like Peter Pan in our cul-de-sac. So that was, yeah. And I've just before like writing the play, I wanted to learn how to actually like structure a play and how to like write certain things, like the stage directions and like dialogue and actions and stuff like that. So yes, that's my background into theater.
Awesome. Yeah, I could see because you were able to put action, kind of take all of it and create the action throughout the piece and kept it moving that way and in a little tight little package. Anything about the ending, I guess? Is there anything that you would like to explore further or anything that you think, you might double back on eventually writing again?
I'll probably go back and like fix some of the dialogue because some parts are a bit like kind of talking head-ish, where it's just like one character speaking for a really long time. I might go back and like make it longer because 20 pages is like a bit too small. Of oh, did I freeze again?
No,
Just
you're
just
good.
Okay.
But
yeah.
it definitely, I mean, it's such, I thought that
Oh, okay, cool.
for 20 pages, I think you created a very tight, well-written short play. The subject matter, I think, lends itself to expanding it if you want it to. But I think that what you accomplished in a short amount of time is really profound. I mean, you created a really provocative piece with conflict, tension, action, all of that, and that's not easy to do. So don't discount it. I mean, that's actually, sometimes it's easier if you have a lot of time and a lot of, where you just wax poetic forever and you write a 100-page play. But to write something concise and quick that, you've got to create a beginning, a middle, and an end and an arc and all, and you did all that. And you did it beautifully.
Yep. So I got to jump in here because we are out of time.
Oh.
Regretfully, because we could be talking about plays and playwriting all day. Ethan, thank you so much for your contribution to this competition. It's really great to see young people using their imaginations and their skills and kind of stepping out of, from the actor turning into the playwright right in front of us. So Thank you.
Good luck at Howard.
Thank you.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your work.
Yes.
All righty.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching today's competition. Come back Sunday, July 11th to celebrate our contestants during the 43rd NAACP AXO Awards, right here on naacpconvention.org. Bye.